Welcome to Win the Future, a podcast where we chat with folks who are tackling the most significant challenges our communities face today to make for a better tomorrow. I'm your host, Brett Broesder. This is episode number 4. Our guest is the one and only Bob Chicoine, who is the owner of Dockside Brewery, which is a brewery that opened up in the midst of the pandemic and has experienced immense success. Bob, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much, Brett. I wouldn't say great, but thank you very much. It's great sitting here with you.
Tell us a little bit about Dockside and opening up during the pandemic.
The biggest thing for us was the ability to pivot. I use the word a lot. We were supposed to name a beer after, we never did, but we planned on opening March 23rd, and Kevin Fitzsimmons, our general manager, is on the board of the Connecticut Restaurant Association and kind of was feeling like we were going to get, the restaurants were going to get shut down. So we decided to pause for a week to see what would happen. Fortunately enough, the next day, we did get the quarantine for restaurants. We had 8 tanks full of beer. We had hired just some cooks, so we didn't hire any staff outside of the cooks. So we decided to do takeout to see basically what kind of reception we get with our beer and in our food. The reception we got was tremendous. The community was so supportive. So that was April 3rd. We opened our doors for takeout. And then for those, I guess, 6-7 weeks after that, we just really blown away on the reception we got with the beer. And it was really all through social media that we got the feedback from. I really want to give credit to the staff for, not really having a true blueprint on how we were going to do it, but we just did it. And then when we were able to open the doors May 20th, I got to say our best friend was the weather at that point. As you know, we have 5 levels of outdoor seating, and the weather, I think it was something insane, like 29 of the first 30 days were sun. So that made it easier in terms of attracting people, especially during the pandemic. One of the big things I heard from everyone that I spoke with was, this is my first time out since the quarantine. They were happy to be outside. They felt comfortable. We did everything we could to, we followed the guidelines by the Milford Health Department, tables, spaced apart correctly. And just from there, from each day, it was a learning curve. What do we do better? What can we do better? How do we make people feel more comfortable, safe? And I think a combination of the food and beer we provided, I think it just made it easier on us as a business to operate.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about what the reception's been for the beer.
The beer, and listen, we're in Connecticut. Over the last 3 years of this project, I've tasted a lot of beer, a lot of it with you, and I've really grown to, for the New England IPAs, that was something I didn't really drink. I was a big lager drinker. And the first thing that I asked of Andy Schwartz was, please, let's make a good New England IPA. We're in Connecticut. Everyone loves the haze, and the reception's been really good. I was more than happy because I had never actually tried his beer outside of Stony Creek, and we've had people. Again, I try to do as much table touching as possible with customers. See, what do you think of the food? What do you think of the beer? And I've heard the reference, and I'm not saying that I'm comparing or anything, but I've heard Trillium, I've heard Treehouse, which is it's flattering for whatever. Everyone has their own style of beer, and they do things a certain way. But the reception's been good, and I think one of the biggest things outside of the New England IPAs is he is broadening his range. He's got the lagers. He tries to do something for everyone. The sours, dark beers. So he's been really cognizant of trying to address a beer style for every type of customer that comes in. If you don't like it in New England, then we have a lager, etc.
And what have you found are the best sellers thus far?
Definitely by far, Feeling Juicy New England IPA. It's a single. It is by far the most applauded beer. Fredo is our Italian Pilsner. That's our best-selling beer. And it's simply, and I was kind of alerted to this beforehand, it's a lighter beer, so you can drink more of it. So by volume, it's Fredo, but I think by style is definitely Feeling Juicy. And we gotten really good reception on the sours, but he hasn't branded one in particular that he continuously makes. He keeps changing up the sours.
Got it. And when it comes to seltzers, obviously that market has expanded wildly. What are you seeing in terms of sales volume in that category?
This summer, I mean, White Claw still dominates. There's no question. We have White Claw and Truly in a can, obviously, both at the upstairs bar and then our beach bar. White Claw is probably 2-1 over Truly, but it's a solid of our can sales. It's got to be at least 35% of our sales. Just that one out of all the cans. And we do sell a lot of cans, wine, other beers, down at the beach especially. But White Claw, hands down. I will throw this in. High Noon actually picked up some pace after getting the nice rating from Portnoy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think the rating, is that what you think had the biggest?
Yes, 100%. As soon as I came out, it was like he couldn't keep it on the shelves. We got aggressive, just unfortunate, but we bought I think over 100 cases of it immediately just to have it, and it wasn't enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing to see just how someone can carry so much weight when you get that rating, and just like the pizzerias in New Haven.
Yeah. Wow.
Similar
with Barstool.
Yeah, Barstool. Sorry. Yes.
Oh no. That's interesting. So, in terms of opening up amidst the pandemic, what were a couple of the biggest challenges you faced, had to overcome?
Well, the biggest is not knowing where your employees are going. We, on premise, we follow all the rules, wash your hands, mask, gloves. However, when they leave there, you just never know where they're going, who they're with, where they're coming back. We take temperatures to make sure, but that's still not, not foolproof. But that was the biggest one. And then that also would be, I guess, trickled down to making sure that everything was clean, sanitized, everything. And you just don't have eyes for everything. So it all was about cleanliness and sanitizing. I guess that was the biggest challenge, to make sure that our customers felt comfortable coming in, because all it takes is one person to take a picture of something that's off kill, and it can be devastating.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and like I said, I really it starts at the top with, Kevin, and our employees really taking it seriously. They did it I couldn't ask for better employees this summer especially, but just in general, they just all were willing to cooperate, and whatever we told them to do, this is what you got to do, they did it.
That's great. How has it been dealing with customers who might not be inclined to wear a mask due to whatever?
Funny you say that. Day one, when we opened up May 20th, until I'd say a solid month, 85% of my day, and I'm not kidding you, 85 was walking around telling people put their mask on. And I think it was just a habit of getting up from the table and just forgetting it. I'd say of that 85% at the time, half of them were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." The other half would kind of be like, "Really?" And it's definitely, I'm down to like not even every day I have to ask someone. But you still get some people that just, they just don't believe in it, and tough luck. And I've actually had to have security remove someone because he just wouldn't listen to me. Wow. And I repeatedly said, he repeatedly said, "I don't need a mask. No one's wearing a mask." And as state mandate is, if you're not seated, you need a mask. To avoid any conflict, it's just easy to ask them, if you don't want to wear a mask, you just can't, safety of others and comfort level for the customers. Understood. So you get very, very minimal, but that was the one really outlier that was like, really, you just can't listen and put your mask on.
Yeah, it's crazy. So in terms of, with small businesses opening up right now, we're at a 10-year high in terms of registration of new enterprises. What advice would you give to somebody who's starting a business right now?
Expect the unexpected and be able to pivot. I can't stress that enough. Just don't be so rigid that you can't change, because things just change on a dime. Every business is different, obviously, but this is my second business, so every time something's come up, I'm just flexible. I don't sit there and say it's my way and that's it. So I just feel like you have to be able to adjust, be nimble, pivot. The same old words. Chameleon is the best way to do it.
Got it. But we're here with Bob Chicoine. We'll be back right after a quick break. Win the Future is sponsored in part by Connecticut by the Numbers. And we're back. And thanks again for tuning in. And we're here with Bob Chicoine, owner of the great Dockside Brewery and fantastic guy. Bob, thanks again for being on. In terms of the future of the brewpub industry and restaurants, since your family is so renowned in that world as well with the Livanos Restaurant Group, can you talk a little bit about what you see as trends for the future?
For trends in the brewery industry, I think, and this initially wasn't even our real beginning plan. Again, I kept pivoting. I think through the pandemic, it shows you a kitchen is very valuable. It allowed us to open up without any restrictions. In the beginning, with food trucks and having to rely on food trucks, the kitchen allowed us to open. We're a hybrid. We're a brew pub. We brew on premise. We have a full kitchen. That's just kind of made it that much easier to stay open as a restaurant. So I think, and I can speak, we have, as you know, Engine 15 down in Jacksonville. We have food trucks, and it just hasn't worked out down there. So we just kind of doing our best. We have a brew pub, and that's just the main focus now. Just kind of going away from the distribution and going more towards the brew pub where you can serve on premise and have more to go beer. A lot more, also is a little bit more profit on that. As for restaurants, that's a tough one because I think right now it just depends. And as you know, my wife has family. They have restaurants in Manhattan, which unfortunately just happen to be in Midtown. And it's just kind of the situation is there's no one in Midtown right now. They're open. They're able to open inside, and they have enough seating. It's just there's just no one there to go inside right now where they normally would. So that one, I just feel like if you can somehow focus, I don't know if this ever happens again in there after we've solved this in our generation, but the ability to have some type of outside seating as a fallback. That's it. And I think. And one of the things that we never planned on at Dockside was takeout. Delivery, takeout, those are the two things that if you can somehow have that, either you start with that or have the ability to do it if something ever again happens like this, have that option.
Well, and it's interesting to talk about takeout. So last night I ordered the steak bowl from Dockside, which is a personal favorite.
Okay. Nice.
And in going to...
Power bowl.
Which
definitely a powerful guy, Brett.
Yeah, far from it, but you are for sure. And in going to Dockside, I mean, your setup is great, and it looks like you made tweaks post opening to ensure that is safe and in a good spot. Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yes, like I said, it was never in the plan to do takeout. It was just to do the beer restaurant type brew pub, but to open up and get our brand out there, we started takeout, and that was the easy part. Was nothing was open, so we kind of used everything that we had. The main floor was basically it was a warehouse, so we didn't have to worry about it. And then we just did takeout, and we pushed it on social media. And like I said, the community reception was really flattering because the people will come. You get to know people because you go out there and you give them their food, and if they either open the trunk or put in the back seat. We took all the precautions in that way. As for the inside, again, that was just one of those things that the space was there, and we just were like, all right, how do we separate it so it has its own little area? We put up another wall to separate, take out, and pick up. In the front, so to speak. So it just kind of happened. Again, it's just one of those things where you just, and I can say this basically over the last 3 months, I just keep finding ways to just keep making it better for the customer experience, whatever it may be.
Investments in the future.
Yeah, we invest in capital.
In terms of going into the winter months, what are some of the things you see happening in the policy arena or just personally with the business that will need to happen in order to adapt or to allow businesses to adapt better?
Obviously, any way you can do outdoor seating with the capacity at 75%, it didn't affect us. We're from 50 to 75 because our inside isn't that large, and maintaining the distancing, our tables stayed the same, didn't help us at all. We have a tent that we have in the beer garden, and we have heaters for that, just small heaters, propane heaters that go out every single day. But we're allowed to have 3 walls, and people were on the water, so we're fortunate that way. We can still see the water, and Jack Frost hasn't hit us yet, so it's still right now okay. Any way you can enclose it. We just keep looking at things. We invested in igloos, so you get your own personal experience. Again, there's something with that, an individual structure, but you got to now follow different sanitizing to maintain the comfort level and obviously the health standards to avoid any kind of issues, which is right now an hour in between usage. Go down, wipe it down with all the sanitizers. But anything you can do outside to enclose it along the lines of the law, that's the only way you can really survive. It's tough.
And how has it been using an online reservation system? I know that you're very cutting edge with that, and it seems to be a great setup. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits and challenges of that?
Again, it's another one of those areas where we pivoted. We didn't ever plan on having a reservation system. As we approached it, we're like, well, how do we maintain any type of order? People just walking up, and then you get lines on top of each other. You can't, you do have the 6-foot distancing, but still, it's inevitable that someone's going to be on top of each other, feeling comfortable. So we explored open table. Again, going through my wife's experience with them, they're more expensive. We didn't know how we were going to use it. We ended up going to Resi, who American Express to Sport. So it was our first experience with it, and more importantly, our customers. So we didn't change anything. The reservation system's been really helpful in terms of it's just there's order. There's no one. You get a little bit of backup because it's very difficult to maintain. We do have a 2-hour limit for anyone over 3 or more. 2 people or an hour and a half. Again, just to keep it moving and the summer's been great, so it was a little bit easier to have the reservations filled. It's been helpful as we move further and further into the winter, but going closer and closer to the spring, there'll be something we reevaluate. Do we want to keep it? Which at this point, yes. Just like one of the things that we've done, for every customer, we have someone that sanitizes, buses, runs, and the server. They each have an individual job for one table or whatever table. So that has also kind of been one of the things that we changed. We didn't ever plan on having something like that. So that and the reservation system, I feel like those are 2 things that make the customer experience that much better that I don't see why we would change it no matter what happens when the restrictions are loosened to 0%. But the reservation system has been helpful. It wasn't something I planned on, but just definitely recommend it in our situation.
I know you were an accounting major in college, worked on Wall Street for a while, investment banking, and then
Trader.
Oh, trader. Yep. And ended up getting into the brew pub business. What advice would you give to yourself at 20 about entering into business?
Well, it's tough because I give my 23-year-old niece advice.
Fair. So what advice do you
It took me a little while to find my footing. I like you said, I have an accounting degree, and that's how I started out, just assuming that's the way to go. And it totally was not for me. It was very boring. So I pivoted into trading and traded for 20 years. But in between, again, you find out who you are. And it doesn't happen. Some people happen to right out of college. Some are later in life. I think my advice is 21 is young. You may not know exactly what you want to do, but take your time and figure out and be happy. So as a trader for 20 years, I enjoyed it, and it got me to where I am today. However, I have infinitely more fun doing what I'm doing, and I don't consider this work. So I feel like figure out what it is that's not really work. It's your daily lifestyle.
And on the distribution side, I know that that's a major component of the business in a way of, do you do it? Do you not? What are some of the decision points that come into play there?
For Florida, you can't there's no opportunity to self-distribute. So you're beholden to a distributor, and it's very, very difficult to, we crack the market, make it. We did it when we started it. Unfortunately, I think we just started a little bit too late down there. In Connecticut, you can self-distribute. So you have the opportunity to almost get your feet wet to see, hey, you can do it to a threshold, and that's really where I think you can make a decision. Where down there you're just kind of beholden to the distributor, and it just didn't really work down in Jacksonville for whatever reason. But I'm not, for here, it really just depends on I guess on how you push it, your brand, and how much people want it. I mean, you got there's so many beers out there to choose from too. That's the tough part. How do you separate yourself from Sea Hag, from Counterweight? It's tough. And there's so many good ones out there. Fox Farm, it's just, they're endless. So but at least in Connecticut, you have that opportunity to start locally, and then you can make a decision from there.
I know that canning is something that comes into play quite a bit for breweries overall, specifically with the pandemic and folks being at home, wanting to drink. And a lot of breweries, brew pubs are set up to have folks on premise, right? Can you talk a little bit about the challenges you may have went through in terms of shifting to canning, if that was the case?
What we did in the beginning, because again, when we were doing takeout, we only had a crowler machine. So that wasn't really built for doing canning of 200-300 cases of beer. So we did it, and then we had outside tripod canning came in and started canning for us. So that was a little bit easy. That was a lot easier. But you'd have to. Everyone's if you're a pure brewery, you probably have a warehouse where you have the space to get a canning machine. We just don't have that capability. We have a small can. We just actually purchased a small canning machine so we could do small runs of cans outside of it. But I think again, every case is different. We have a small 7-barrel system that we actually just upgraded 2 of the fermenting tanks to 14 barrels, so we could produce a little bit more. But it's still difficult to get that out there. Where I'm assuming a lot of these breweries around here, they have the capability to do the canning on site and really up production. But as I understand it right now, there's going to be a shortage of cans because of the pandemic. Everyone's been switching to cans.
Yeah, and the trade issues with China.
Yes.
China makes over 50% of the aluminum that comes here. Bob, I can't thank you enough for your time. Don't want to take up too much more of it. Anything you want to end with?
It's been a while since we've done this, Brett, and it's been great. I'll actually do it again. But I honestly, I feel very blessed to be in a situation that I've been in. The community support has been tremendous, and the staff and managers has just been absolutely tremendous. So I just feel fortunate. I want to thank everyone that's come to Dockside and enjoyed their time. Our whole purpose is to have a great customer experience.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Bob. So glad the business is going well. Always great having you. And thanks everybody for listening, and tune in next time for Win the Future. Thank you for listening to the Win the Future podcast, sponsored by the strategic communications firm, A Better Campaign. Make sure to visit our website at abettercampaign.com/win the future. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts, and share it with your friends. Thank you for tuning in. Please tune in again next Thursday for another episode of Win the Future.